how do we deal when we're told that what we see didn't happen? But then how do we argue back about what we saw when it is possible that it can have been manipulated? This becomes really frightening to me.
Yeah.
How do we think about that perhaps from a historical point of view, and how photography and film allowed for the introduction of violence that could expose realities, but could also then be manipulated and then used for spectacle and for consumption to really undermine the intent of why they were circulated. So how have you seen that throughout history?
Well, there was a really interesting,
No, go ahead. Yeah, please.
really interesting Life magazine, after the Nuremberg trials of the high Nazi leaders, ran a double-page spread of the photographs of, I think, 12 of them who had been executed by hanging. They were cut down. Life magazine took pictures of their bodies and published them in the magazine. Now, Life magazine, if you remember Life magazine, it was the middle-class Bible. It was on so many homes around America. It had cute dogs. It had starlets. It had children. And then there is these photographs of dead Nazi leaders. Britain chose not to publish them. They said this was an ugly thing to do. It was illegal to publish them in Germany. Life said, we want to show people that they are really dead, so there can be no resurgence of, somebody won't come along and say, I've risen from the dead and we're going to bring the movement back. I don't know how I feel about that, but that kind of question has come up again and again and again and again. I show my students this, and half of them think, okay, that was all right, and then I show them the photographs of not Goebbels, the other one, his children who he poisoned, his 6 beautiful children he poisoned in the bunker at the end. Another Nazi leader. And
Himmler?
No.
They sit here all day.
No, we're
Name
going
that
to
Nazi
all
leader.
of them. I can see his face, but anyway, he and his wife poisoned their children at the end so that they would not fall in the hands of the enemy. The students have a very different idea, about whether you should show pictures of children who've been poisoned by their Nazi parents, as opposed to seeing photographs of Nazis with the nooses around their necks. But it's a really challenging debate.
Or on the other side, the picture of Emmett Till in his casket.
Yes.
Jet Magazine, black media. Jet Magazine, Mamie Till, Mamie Till, decided to show her son. It was chilling. It is a most horrific image of what happened to him, snatched out of his bed, visiting his family, as we all have, well, not all of us. But so in the black community, sometimes the family would send you down south for the summer. I spent my summers in Georgia. He was from Chicago. His mom sent him to stay with his family in Mississippi, and he allegedly catcalled or something, a white woman, but we find out now Carolyn Bryant lied, and he was snatched out of his bed at 2:00 in the morning or so, and brutally beaten, shot, had a 75-pound fan wrapped around his neck, and he was thrown in the Tallahatchie River. His mother wanted everyone to see what that looked like, and Rosa Parks said that image was one of the catalysts for her to not get up that day, and it was credited as well as one of the catalysts for the civil rights movement because of the anger that image evoked. So there's another side to that too.
And I think it's been those decisions, because you see the black press in the early 20th century publishing photographs of lynched bodies, right? And it really is upending this commercial enterprise of selling postcards with lynched bodies, right? So it's taking those lynching postcards, right, which people are buying these postcards and mailing notes and love letters to each other with these, bodies on them. And the black press, black media takes those images and disrupts that commercial, that sort of commercial aspect of it. But, even, and you're right, this idea of, how the media portrays death is really politically charged. So I showed my students this there was, I want to say it was in Kenya, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, there was, I think, a bombing either in Kenya or somewhere, you know, it's really not that important, but New York Times did show some of the bodies, right? And I asked my students about this, and I was teaching a course on, I teach African history, and we were talking about, you know, how the media portrays Africa. And I said, you know, why are they showing these bodies? And I'm like, well, we need to know that this happened. You know, this is something that the world needs to know. And I said, well, we don't show the bodies of, and I'm glad we don't, of people that are killed in mass shootings in the United States. We don't show the bodies of children that are slaughtered in schools. And so even in death, there's a way that some bodies matter and some bodies don't. And I would argue and suggest that non-Black people would not go viral on social media. I don't think their videos would be circulated as heavily as the bodies. And I do think there's some great consciousness raising that happens around this, but I also think it becomes a spectacle. And even one of my graduate students today, taking me to the airport, said she had to stop watching those videos because she realized that yes, it was about consciousness raising, but she was also fascinated. There was a sort of fascination about it.
If police officers were gunning down white male young people in the streets in their neighborhoods, not only would it go viral, it would stop.
True.
Immediately. There would be
Okay.
gun control laws,
Yeah.
and police would be in jail,
Yeah.
and there would be a whole outrage in this country around how can this happen.
Yeah.
So I think it would go viral, and I think it would go
Would go
viral, and it
in a
would be a
way,
very
yeah.
limited time that the
Got it.
police would stop
Yeah.
doing that. As I was thinking about this death, we showed the pictures of Saddam Hussein's sons. I remember that very vividly because I was at the news at the time, and that was groundbreaking as well. Uday and Qusay, I think that's their names, to show that they were dead, but yet we didn't show the body of Osama bin Laden, which I still am curious about whether burial at
that's
sea, do we think he's dead, really?
But that's what it led to. I mean, many people argued in a really sensitive way that you cannot do this. This is not what civilized people
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But there is an underground, conviction among a lot of people that he isn't really dead. It was a lie
Because they haven't seen the body.
because they haven't
Right.
seen the photographs
Yeah.
of the body. So the balance, how you balance those concerns, is a
Yeah.
really great question.